Movies. They've been around for well over probably 100 plus years by now. Everybody knows them. Everybody loves them. There's good movies. There's bad movies. And as the bearer of truth, I am here to differentiate these two things. So I'm going to give you the definitive truth, the proper review, the actual based factual answer to which of them is the best and which is the worst. But let's get into it. The first movie. It's just not a good movie. I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't know. There's very little that I can give it in merit to, but I will say it is a historically accurate movie. Other than the very over dramatized like cringe that it kind of like ensues through and puts you through, it does a pretty relatively good job at portraying a real life event in a somewhat realistic manner. But other than that, no, it's bad. It's visually disgusting. The movie looks like it was recorded on like a VHS of a VHS. It looks like found footage of a found footage. Every character sucks. There's way too much detail that we don't need to hear about. A lot of just random stuff. Like, sure, it might have happened in real life, but this is a movie. Put the interesting parts of the story into it, not the boring stuff. No one wants to watch that. I'm rating this movie 2 social credits out of 10. You know, this movie kind of disappointed me because let's think Wild West. Because I'm sorry, when I hear the Alamo, Texans, I don't care. I'm making the generalization Wild West. I'm thinking of like Django Unchained, There Will Be Blood, something like that. Like some cool movie where you see some cowboys, some absolute G's just killing people, taking names. That is what I think when I think of a cowboyish Texan movie. But what we get as a result of the Alamo is a pretty movie. It has some good action scenes, I'll give it that. I think that the fort battles are interesting. I think that it's engaging, and I think that like the whole night raid was pretty awesome. I do like that they use real people, and it is a super major event, but it is super unrealistic. There's a lot of over dramatized moments. The acting is extremely corny. I feel like the only character I really truly liked was Davy Crockett. The other two dudes, the one dude was like dying from like influenza the whole movie, and the other guy got like killed in like a second by some kid. And the movie just drags out. After the fort scene, the movie dragged out. They could have sped that up. I didn't have to watch a whole other fight sequence. But the movie, it's not the worst movie ever, but it's not a good movie. It is still not a good movie. It could have been better. It had potential. The Alamo. Here's when we cross that line of like good movies and bad movies. This is a pretty solid movie. It is an existably charitable movie. I enjoyed a good portion of it. It showed a pretty important event in history that I feel like is often overlooked for how actually violent and serious that it got. It was very well filmed. It was one of the best visually pleasing movies there was. It had star actors, people from other movies that you recognized, like Hilary Swank. It was a well done movie in that department. But it had so many moments where I was snoozing. That movie, oh my god. Like the romance, bro. Why include something that didn't happen in real life? And don't even like make it worthwhile watching the movie either. It was completely unnecessary. They did it for like movie filler. And there was a lot of just unimportant things thrown in there, random scenes that just could have not been included and would have been fine. But other than that, it's a solid movie. It's an existable movie. It's slightly above average, and I respect it. Now we move on to Lincoln. Personally, I think this movie's pretty good. This is a really, really nice, solid movie. Extremely influential point in history for America. It's accurate. It's very, very engaging. I thought like the speeches and like the whole debates and like the Congress like meetups and councils were super like intense and like you were on the edge of your feet. But that movie dragged on so long. And I'm sorry, there does like I'm not like, oh, there has to be action. But like, did we really like we just watched people sit there and talk for like 2.5, 3 hours. That's kinda all there was. Like we could see, a little bit of the Civil War. I don't think we really saw any. There was none. But overall, it's a good movie. I enjoy it. I did enjoy it a lot. And yeah, Lincoln.
Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law.
Now we move on to Dances with Wolves. Going into this movie, I was pretty, not expecting much. I was like, the concept's kind of like, movie doesn't sound that great. I was taken aback. I was taken by storm. Very surprised. This movie was pretty good. The start of it was terrible. I'm gonna say that though. Like the movie would be higher, would be a higher rating for me if it didn't start off so slow. Like what was that whole sequence where like that dude, like that general dude just kind of talked to him and it was kind of crazy and then just like kind of offed himself. Like that entire sequence was completely unnecessary and dragged out like 10 unnecessary minutes. But otherwise, it had the best plot. It had real character development. I didn't feel like I was just looking at some static being that just held the same feeling the whole movie. It was really not historically accurate, but for a historical fiction movie, it had its, interests. I think that other than the whole American dude being friends with the natives and indigenous people, it had some historical accuracy to it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty well thought out. Yeah, Dances with Wolves. This is the best movie out of all of them, and this is a good movie.